Hey everybody, you're listening to What Are You Doing in Denmark, the podcast that helps you make Denmark make sense. My name is Derek Hartman, and I've been living in Denmark since 2017, and I'm so excited because today we are talking all about the Eurovision Song Contest with somebody who knows the topic very well. Now, a short brief, the Eurovision Song Contest was inaugurated in 1956 by the European Broadcasting Union and was aimed at fostering unity in post-war Europe. Countries from across the European Broadcasting Union include some from North Africa and the Middle East. They all submit songs performed live on television and radio, and it's famous for launching the careers of winners like ABBA and Celine Dion. We couldn't book Celine, but we are joined by an equally talented human whose resume includes designer, author, and TV personality, and we get to talk to him about his songwriting, which was displayed at this year's Dansk Melodi Grand Prix, or Denmark's National Eurovision Selection Contest. Please welcome Andres Artiles Jerrik. Welcome to What Are You Doing in Denmark?
Thank you.
Such a broad topic that I can't wait to dive into, Eurovision. As an American, I really only learned about it when I moved here to Denmark, and I've just been captivated. So really excited to talk to somebody who knows a lot more about it than I do.
So excited to be here.
Can't wait to hear your opinions, all of your kind of behind the scenes actions and the things you've been involved with. So
yeah. Well, you guys had one, I think, the American Song Contest. That didn't go that well.
That didn't go so well. Yeah. So I'm not actually sure. I didn't watch any of it because I didn't. Well, I was a little bit worried about what it would actually become, and I think American music is
different.
It's different.
Yes. Someone had a good idea, but they should probably not just have done it. Yeah. But it's fine.
On paper, it makes sense. But when you boil it down to it, don't mess with something that's already so perfect in Eurovision. And they've had, 60, 70 years now to kind of perfect it. So, we tried. Yeah. I really am excited to hear about your experience with... on the ground here in Denmark and in Dansk Melodi Grand Prix. Can you tell us a little bit about how you got involved with songwriting and especially about your experience this year? Of course.
Yeah. Well, I've watched Dansk Melodi Grand Prix and MGP, the ones for the kids, since I was a child. So I've always listened to music, especially being inspired by music that shows me maybe another culture. So I really always love that Eurovision had this amazing sense of bringing a lot of different cultures together and showing stuff that I couldn't see anywhere else. So what happened was I have worked in the fashion and the music business since I was 15 years old, working with styling and design within the music industry. So it made sense for me that Eurovision was always on my bucket list to either be a contender, style something, design something for it, and then I think it was in 2020, actually, my good friend, who's also a stylist, she worked at Danish Broadcast, and she was styling the entire show, but she needed an assistant, a helper, and she was like, so Andres, do you want to style Eurovision, the Danish Eurovision with me? And I was like, this is my moment now. So I was I got there, had the meeting, got to do it with her, and we did the 10 artists from Denmark. And then the same week that they did the show in 2020, the world shut down.
Oh.
So the entire show, ready with styling and everything in Royal Arena for 40,000 people, didn't happen. So they did the show, but without the audience. And I was actually in New York when that happened. And I was it was nice to see my work on TV, but it was also really sad. And then, what happened, the next 2 years was Eurovision was different and weird. Yeah. Nothing really happened. So I feel I had to kind of do it again. And then randomly last year, I got a call from Warner Music. They were so there's this artist. He's going to be in Danish Eurovision, and we really want to have a style that's different and very cool and creative. So we want to take a meeting with you if you want to. It was actually my husband's 30-year birthday, and I had to go to a huge birthday party. But I was looked at him. I was I have a chance to redo my Eurovision, my Dansk Melodi Grand Prix dream. Can I go take this meeting? And he was yeah. So I went from his birthday with the family. I took the meeting for an hour, and then I went back to the party.
That is love.
That is love.
Because if you're not familiar with birthday culture in Denmark, a round birthday, as we call it, a 30th birthday, that's a big one.
Yeah, and I feel we were celebrating him all week long. So for me, but on the day of his birthday. But I went, had the meeting. They loved what I did. I really connected with Reiley, and then yeah, then I just did this amazing upcycle look for him. When I work as a designer, it's all about like creating new stuff, but like utilizing old stuff and then like bringing it into like a new world or like new inspiration. So I took some things he had already and then painted it for him for stage. And it just ended up working. Then I like shared the design process on my TikTok with like all the young followers. So it was kind of like a 360 that made sense with like inviting people into the design process and then seeing it on stage. And then, well, he won. But the crazy thing about it was the entire experience when we went there, it was in Næstved. So it was like out of Copenhagen. And that was kind of weird because, well, I love Næstved. So no hate on that, but it was weird to like go have this huge production outside of Copenhagen and being like, you couldn't really feel the energy of like how it was on TV. So it was like, we just felt like we went to like a recital of some sorts and he was like doing a show and then we were just sitting there. And then when the votes came in, it was like, we won. And everybody was like, okay, like what are we doing now?
Now what? Yeah.
It was kind of, and Reiley had like his management from the UK and like he was signed in the US. It was like a lot of big things happening, but we were just in little Næstved and then he just won. And then what happened was they invited me to go with him to Liverpool for Eurovision to do his content, to like keep this work with like behind the scenes being creative. So that was like my first real Eurovision adventure where I was like really present. And then after that, because we didn't do so well, when I came home, I was like, Eurovision and Dansk Melodi Grand Prix is for me, it's like the most amazing thing because it's like a little bubble, but it's kind of like the world of music and fashion all mixed to one little bubble that's like 2 to 3, 4 months, like every year. So for me, it's kind of like, why are people not loving this? And I feel like, especially in Denmark, it's kind of been like the last 5 to 6 years, it's kind of been like frowned upon in a way.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting. I think Denmark has such a successful history of Eurovision. It wasn't too long ago that Emily de Forest won Eurovision, brought the contest to Copenhagen, and since then it has been a bit of a struggle. Yeah. And I actually thought Reiley like really had a chance. It was close on the bubble to making it to the final night of Eurovision.
I think there's this. Well, that there's Janteloven, and the thing about that is I don't know if it's because like when we won with Emily de Forest, it's like yay we won, so now we have to like
bring us down a notch.
Like please take it down a notch and just like be bad for many years and then like let's try again. And actually, so when we went in 2000 with Brødrene Olsen, that was Malmö, and we won in Malmö. And when we went with Emily de Forest, we went to like Sweden again, and we won. So it's kind of like we're going this year with Zappa. So like, well, fingers crossed.
There we go. Yeah,
it's like every time we go to Sweden, it's kind of like they kind of like us and like our taste in music that year, but also it's all about the song and the zeitgeist of it. Yeah.
And it's so interesting too that you mentioned, because obviously with your background in fashion, in design, with the visual component, that is so huge in Eurovision.
It is.
And it is, of course, it's a song contest. We all know that. But what really, I think, moves the audience, moves the jurors, is the performance element. Yeah. And so much of that is exactly what you talked about, what you bring. And I'm really curious as well, you mentioned TikTok and sort of that social media component. How has that sort of, in the recent years, changed the performance? Because I know Reiley was also very big on TikTok. And you did a lot of that content. I know you're
a content creator myself.
Yeah, content creator yourself, going to be doing some content this year.
Yeah, with Zappa as well.
If we can tease that a little bit.
We can. But yeah, what I realized also, like, I've again working like in between fashion and music for the last 15 years. It was like when I was on TikTok, I could see like how the contest of Eurovision opened up like 3 months before the show for the first time, like 2 years ago. And especially, of course, with the pandemic, everybody was online. So it was kind of like a lot of things were happening there. And I was like, this is so exciting that I actually get to like dive into the artists and the songs before I see the show. Because usually what you do is when you see Eurovision, it's kind of like the first introduction to all the songs. But in recent years, like I feel like 2 years ago, it changed because everybody was on TikTok. So also like even with Duncan Lawrence that won, and also the girl with the song Snap, like these songs that were like in Eurovision, and then all of a sudden they're all over TikTok, like huge hits.
Yes,
kind of like when you go like #1 on the billboards in the UK, no, in the US. So it was just crazy to see how the songs could like be part of Eurovision, and then like half a year later, you have one of the biggest songs in the world, and that's exciting because that's what TikTok can do. But when it makes sense also with Eurovision, because people had seen it, they didn't vote for it, the song Snap, and then all of a sudden it became big. That's, for me, that's magic, and that's really exciting to see. And then you can see how a lot of artists have like tried to mimic that when they go to Eurovision and be like, okay, so we can have a good song, we can have a good artist, but what happens if we like start to campaign it like months prior to the show? And that's just the most exciting part. Like when I went to Liverpool last year, there were so many songs, like the Edgar Allan Poe song that I really liked. But it was like nobody really voted for it because it didn't translate maybe like in the show. But like when you saw the girls on social media, it was so cool. And like for me, that was like a slam dunk when you see in like content and zeitgeist and what's going on. So maybe you don't win the public vote, but the good thing is that you can go out afterwards and have like a moment that people can talk about and then work from that. And that's really what I wanted to try also to do with Reiley. The thing is about Denmark that we are so like low key and nede på jorden, and everything is like down to earth. So we don't really support too much of people being like the main character.
Standing
like,
out.
Yeah. But that's what I'm against, because I've been against that my entire life, and I'm trying to like make that happen as well with Saba.
Yeah, that's so interesting, and being an outsider and talking about things like Janteloven, because I notice it, and I do see a lot of people reply when I do mention it in maybe content that I create. We did a couple episodes of the show on it, and a lot of people, even in the comment section, would say, "Oh, it doesn't really exist," and I'm like, "Oh, but you don't even know it does."
I grew up with it,
and sometimes you can't see the forest from the trees, right?
No.
And sometimes. You don't maybe realize how you are downplaying the success. You don't want to stand out enough. Yeah. Maybe it's just kind of doing something more simple.
Yeah. I also feel like Eurovision, of course, we know it's like, when I go into it, like looking at who's watching Eurovision, it's like we have three parts. So we have like one part, half of Denmark, like Mr. and Mrs. Denmark, like families, older people, like watching the show because it's on TV.
Sure.
And then we have like the kids actually that are like really excited to see a TV show, and they can like sit at home and be excited. And then we have the gays, of course.
Yes.
And I feel like it's because Eurovision has created this hub, this creative space where it's like, again, we talked about with Janteloven, it's all about like people feeling outside, feeling they don't fit in, and then you can make this amazing melting pot of like cultures and music and diversity and celebration. So of course, us as gay people or whatever you identify as, like we feel like, oh, this is a space where I can just be myself and listen to the music. And of course, after the years have like gone, you can tell how it's more intertwined now. So we don't really think about it, but the people that don't like Eurovision, they know all about it. But I love that it's like a space for artistry and people being unapologetically themselves and just celebration. And that leads me to, I've been again working in the fashion and the music industry for so many years, so I got to know Aura Dione like maybe 8 years ago or something, or maybe more. I was in the studio, she was working on an album, I was like an assistant at that time, and when we found each other, it was like two spirits meeting for like the third time in life or something like that. Aura is like unapologetically an artist, and that's why I think she's had a lot of success in Denmark, but she's also had a lot of success outside of Denmark.
Right, she's had a number one in, I think, Germany.
I think she's had three number ones in Germany, like 3 number ones on radio. So that's like that's really success, and you can't really so that's crazy. But the thing is that she's like,
and
she's
for
such
years
and she's such an artist, and she has of course hits, but she's like an artist, she's a songwriter, she's such a powerhouse,
and her vocals are so
and she's so real,
strong.
And then again, when I came home last year from doing Reiley and Eurovision, I was like, I think I started a campaign, like all my friends that are singers, I was like, so who's going to do Eurovision next year? Because I'm signing up. Whatever you want to do, I'm there for you.
So you kind of had the drive from that
because
one
I was like, I was so excited. And also I felt like now that I did all of this with Reiley, knowing like how it works and with social media, I was like, okay, so who can I do it with next year? Because I feel like that the Dansk Melodi Grand Prix is like a really untapped scene that people should like use and utilize more. So, well, it wasn't my idea to say like, I'll do this, but I was like talking a lot about it. And then I got married in October last year with my now husband after 12 years. So that was amazing. And then for our wedding, we were like, we're going to do a wedding kind of traditional, but then not traditional. So we really want to have a family. So we did like a fundraising wedding. So instead of having presents, people would come and like donate money for our like dream to have a family. And then with that was like, okay, so if people have to like donate money for us, we have to give them something, a show. And luckily, because I've been working in the music industry for so many years, I have a lot of all my friends, a lot of them are singers. So we were like, okay, let's do like a mini festival, like a lineup. We've been asking our friends for so many years if they wanted to sing at our wedding, and who's gonna say no to this face? No, I'm kidding. but it's like, so we had Aura, we had a lot of different Danish artists, and they were all up for it, which was amazing. So we kind of did this, like we worked a lot with music and family and into like all of this like love story we have, and a lot of feelings and emotions about us wanting to have a family and our friends singing for us. It was a really beautiful wedding. But what happened was that Aura had become a mom last year. So it was kind of like, again, we were like aligning in our energies about this power you feel when you become a mother. I feel like she was a strong woman before, but now she's like it's goddess vibes. It's like when you feel this, one of your friends becoming a mom, it's so powerful. So she said to me like, so of course she like donated some money for the wedding, for our project. And then she was like, Andres, I started working on a song like with a songwriter and a producer. I just feel like you have to come and finish the song with me, and we have to do it, send it to Eurovision, and then like it has to go out and generate money that you can use for your baby project. So it was kind of like, it was very beautiful and very touching, and I was crying, and it was like, because it was such a like her way of saying like, come be part of this with me, and then we can together create something that maybe can go out and make other people happy, and then kind of sustainably like generate my dream as well and her dream. And yeah, it was really touching and beautiful.
That is so beautiful. And what a friend that like really knows that the best gift they can give you is something creative, something that you can do together and bond over, and that it's something that will also unite you in that goal of starting a family.
And also like create something in an energy that's so loving and beautiful. So I went home to her. She played some of the parts of the song for me, and we were just like braining, and we were like, oh my God, it's like, it's a mirror ball of hope. Like the photo mirror ball of hope is like her creating this, seeing herself as a mirror ball, and then like, because the mirror ball is made to like reflect light, so she wanted to like be the mirror ball on the stage and then reflect like the hopes and the dreams and the love from the audience, and then like give it back, because I feel like that's what Eurovision is all about. And then it's a song she wrote for her daughter. So beautiful. But then when we sat there, the song was done, we were like screaming like, oh my God, this is so good. I sat with her and I was like, okay, so we have to do a social media campaign. How are we gonna have people talk about this? And then I can't even remember how. I think we were just talking about like fairy tales. We were talking about what would work. What's your biggest dream if Denmark had to go to Malmö and represent? What would be the most Danish thing we could do? And then we started talking about, should you sit in like an Arne Jacobsen chair? Should we we were really thinking about like Danish design. We were thinking about, should we do like, should she be in like the egg, like the chair? Like should we even have like some of the lamps? You know, some of this Danish design. We're like, should we build a house of only Danish design, and then her be like one of the design things as well? And then we were of course like, what about fairy tales? What about Hans Christian Andersen? Sure. We talked about it all, and then when we said that, I was like, oh my God, I know what you're gonna be. I know what you're gonna be. You're gonna be the little effing mermaid sit on top of a mirror ball in Malmö, in water, dancers, like male dancers with no clothes dancing in water. I had the epiphany like this. Then she looks at me, because I knew it was a crazy idea. She was like, we're gonna do that. Let's do it.
And that was so great. I remember watching it, and to me, it just seemed like the most Eurovision. And no tea, no shade to any of the other contestants, because I think that this was a very strong lineup of performers.
It really was.
For recent years in Dansk Melodi Grand Prix, I mean, that competition was thick, and
it really was.
But that was the one that I was like, oh, I totally see this on the Eurovision stage. It was just so. All of those visual elements, and now hearing more about your experience with Reiley, I can obviously tell that came from a lot of your influence with being there in Liverpool last year, right?
I also feel
have to assume.
Yeah, but it was. But also, like when you go and see the show, like behind the scenes in Liverpool last year, you really see like the effort people are putting in. You see the production. You see this huge production company working with like 8 of the artists because they have budget. And the thing about Denmark and Copenhagen and DR, which is I love the fact that they are like music first, songwriting first, integrity first. I have so much respect for that. But when I went to Liverpool, I was like, yeah, that's good. but what else is there? And I just saw this level of like commitment and creativity and social and like also people just daring to like experiment and being like, so maybe this is a crazy idea, but if it works, it works. And if it doesn't work, like the same with TikTok. If you do a TikTok that's like, this is so out of character for me, but if it works and if you get out of it what you want, then I feel like we should just invite it in and be like, let's just go there. So when we did the mermaid thing, it was also really like the idea I had was not really the idea people saw on TV. A lot of things were not able to be like executed, and that wasn't like, it was more it's also our own mistake. Like I feel like the show that I envisioned was the show ready for Malmö. I wanted water on the stage. We couldn't get that. I wanted like I wanted 10 like male half mermaid half naked dancers in the water. We really couldn't get that, and it's not because they didn't want to pay for it. It's just like it wouldn't make sense in Concerthuset in Denmark to do that.
Sure.
So
you scale it down or scale it up based on the
I feel like maybe our idea was too big for like the scaled down version. Maybe we should have done like a more simple thing and then waited with the mermaid for. But then we were also like, but we can't wait with our mermaid. So yeah, so it was also a question about lighting, and there were so many things. But what we did was still something we were so proud of. The process was amazing. I hope we can inspire other bigger artists in Denmark, or like just artists in general that participate in Dansk Melodi Grand Prix to push the limit a little bit more. I'm just gonna say it. I really feel like DR should maybe also hire more creative directors like me. Like they should hire creative people to oversee that, so the artists can like focus on whatever they're doing, and then like people with ideas.
Yeah.
But we can always talk about what I feel like we should do with Dansk Melodi Grand Prix moving forward.
That's an excellent segue, and I gotta love when somebody segues themselves. So that's perfect, because I really did want to ask you about some of the critique that DR got last year that I think maybe had been bubbling up because of the disappointing results for Denmark in recent years, after being a significant powerhouse in recent years, or in previous decades, I guess.
Yeah.
And but, it's been since I think 2013 since
Yes.
a win for Denmark.
Yeah.
I don't think since the pandemic we've made it to the finale of Eurovision, which is
kind of it's sad as
it's
well.
Not, yeah, exactly. It's below the standard. So there was a bit of critique about sort of the way that the Dansk Melodi Grand Prix is set up, about the way that they showcases it, and maybe the fact that it hasn't kept up with some other Nordic and Scandinavian counterparts, where in Sweden you have a multi-day event, so it's much more exposure for the artists, more incentive for bigger names to participate. In Norway, in Finland, you have an element that's set up to recreate the international jury, so that it's not just the people in the nation voting, but you also can kind of test and sort of see how this song will perform when an international jury is looking at it. Denmark hasn't really kept up with that. DR has not followed through with that. Do you think that's part of the results, or is that something that DR should take a closer look at? What would be your advice?
I know actually the people that are working with Eurovision. I know in Denmark. I know that they are working so hard to like crack the code.
Yeah.
But I feel like part of being Danish is like, well, you kind of know by now, because I feel like you are Danish. It's kind of like this, we have this rich history and culture and like respect for what has come before us. So the Danish people are such a tough crowd. Yeah. And if you just zoom out and look like, so Danish people, they love to watch X Factor because we've had it for like 99 seasons, no, like for almost 20 years, and then they love to like watch Vild med Dans, Strictly Come Dancing.
Yes.
Because again, it's been going on for 20 years. Yeah. So it's like people in Denmark really love something that they've known and they know because they feel familiar to it.
Sure.
So I don't think they're so good at like watching a show and then being introduced by something new, because it's kind of like when you look at like social media with TikTok even, it's like people, they see something and then in Denmark it's like either you like it or you don't.
Right.
Nobody's really like, this is okay, or like this is a 7 out of 10. It's kind of like Taylor Swift fans. Either you like, I love the album, or like people like, I hate the album. We don't have that much like in between anymore. Yeah. So I feel like when people are introduced to like 8 new songs in Dansk Melodi Grand Prix, they're like, I like it, I don't like it. And it's really sad because, well, for many years I was like, why don't we just like merge X Factor and Eurovision?
Sure.
So we could like follow some artists for like 2 months and then like being introduced to whatever's gonna happen. So yeah, so just to say on the critique, I get it because it's sad, but I also feel like it also takes some responsibility from the audience because one thing is changing a show, but it's also like the people watching it, they should maybe, I don't know if you can like put in the show like an educational thing where it's like, so now you have half an hour and you have to look inside yourself and be like, what song do you think could win on an international stage? Instead of thinking like, what song do I like?
Right.
Because this song is not gonna win and then represent, well, it's gonna represent Denmark, but it's not gonna be played around in Denmark. You have to go and think about what's going on the international scene. What is going on in the other countries? What is Denmark's point of view in the world?
So it's almost like the Danish mentality, the audience mentality is still taking it more in like that X Factor point of view, which is like,
kind of, yeah.
What do we like? I can also see as I was saying some of the suggestions that have come up, thinking like, wow, I really don't see Denmark saying, oh, you know what, we should do this not the way we've traditionally been doing it, but do it more like the Swedes. I don't think would be
no. Trust me,
would be a popular way to go.
If they do that, they would hate it even more.
Yes.
Because it's like, no, they just want something that's familiar. I feel like if you just look right now at like Danish music and Danish artists, we have like Mø, we have Lucas Graham, we have so many cool artists
so many
in the world.
Yes.
And it's kind of like the music industry, a huge part of the music industry is kind of like looking at Melodi Grand Prix like a bad thing. Like it's like lowbrow, it's like upcoming, like it's really sad because when you go to Sweden, it's like their biggest pride and joy. So how do we shift that? And then I had an idea, like why don't we, I think we should do like a show where we like present 8 Danish artists. It could be like a lot of the biggest names we have, and then people should vote for like their favorite artists. So then let's say we have a Lucas Graham.
Yes.
So we chose him this year, and then we have another show that's like 20 songwriters that try to write the best song for him.
Ooh, right.
And then he would go do a concert on TV with like 10 songs, and then we would like vote for the best song for him. So kind of like we choose the artist and then afterwards we choose the song, because then it's kind of like more safe bet. Maybe we don't have to critique so many things.
Right.
I think that could be maybe an idea.
Start with the artist.
Yeah.
Almost like in the UK, right? Like having Ali Alexander, who's
oh my God, I love him so much.
Right. Yeah. Fantastic artist. Well established in the music industry, veteran. You know he can perform on stage.
Exactly.
You know he understands how to take a song and make it his own.
Yes.
And present it well. And obviously somebody like Lucas Graham would fall right into that.
Yeah, because we could stand behind the artist. It could also be like smaller artists, maybe one that hasn't caught a break yet after 10 years.
Yeah.
But the thing about Denmark being like, we stand behind this artist, because now when you win Dansk Melodi Grand Prix, you know that you got the majority of the vote, but you might also have like half the country being like, oh, I didn't vote for you, so I'm not going to see it now.
Oh, right.
And that type of like hate, and I don't like that energy, is just bad for anyone.
It gets a little tribal.
Yeah. And then especially like this year, like it's just because it's just sad that we can't just celebrate. I feel like when somebody wins in a sport or whatever, we like they come back to Copenhagen and we like gather everybody at Rådhuspladsen and like everybody's like yay, and then in Denmark it's like, so well, we have a winner of Dansk Melodi Grand Prix. We should do like, why doesn't Zappa have a huge concert in the city and like playing a lot of songs and everybody's just like praising her? I feel like we should. I feel like what happens in Denmark, especially with Dansk Melodi Grand Prix, is that it actually divides us a little bit more than it should. Because Eurovision is about gathering people in, like, again, you said, in a post-war Europe and like the 50s. So why can't we get together about this in Denmark? It makes no sense.
Yeah, it is interesting because there are, and this is one thing that I love about living in Denmark. I love living in places that have a strong cultural identity.
Yeah.
I come from, I don't expect anybody to know that much about Philadelphia in the US, but we are very passionate about our city. We're very passionate about our sports teams, our food culture.
Like steak sandwich, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. We're very passionate about those sandwiches. And I think Denmark's very similar. So
it is.
It's like when we do win, when a Dane wins something like Tour de France, for example, like it's everybody's win.
Yes,
and that's very much how Philadelphia is. So I really love that aspect of living here, and I feel like. Yeah, like Eurovision.
There's something about it with Eurovision that's not
for
connecting.
some reason it doesn't. Yes, exactly. And in so many other ways it does. Yeah,
and it might be like you say, because they know that it's because Dansk Melodi Grand Prix is kind of like we're such a like little close-knit community in Denmark, but something happens when people are like, oh, but you have to go on an international stage. So it's kind of like when we send them out in the world, it's kind of like the Danish togetherness and hygge and all of this, it just disappears and they stand there alone. And I feel like that's really sad. But also like now when I'm doing content for Zappa and I'm thinking like, okay, are we trying to connect with Denmark or are we trying to connect with Europe?
Right.
And it's, well, also when I do my own content, it's all about like, who's your audience? And the thing is, what happens when you win Dansk Melodi Grand Prix is kind of like, then the Danish audience kind of goes out the door. And that makes sense why then you would be like, what about us? We voted for you or something. So it's not to say that people are doing that, but it's just so many thoughts in my head that I'm like, it kind of makes sense. So how can we, when you win X Factor in Denmark, you go out and you've won and people have voted for you. We also have a bad track record there. Like people going out and some of them having careers, but many of them are just, again, Danish people are like, bye-bye, because we have another winner next year. So it's kind of like that consistency that we should maybe work on, I think.
It becomes a reality show and not an actual musical contest.
Exactly.
Or highlighting good musicians.
Exactly.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, to zoom out a little bit at the whole contest, because I like that we're kind of going in that direction. The one thing that in this idea of like kind of broadly appealing to all of Europe that's voting is finding songs that appeal to everybody. Yeah. Maybe makes the culture of the contest or the type of music that's represented a little more homogenous. Because I think, of course, there is the local song style. One of the great things about Eurovision historically is that you get to hear songs from different parts of the world that may not be popular and mainstream in the country that you live or the music that you normally listen to.
Yeah.
But with such an internet and social media and almost a global culture that's running in parallel to these local cultures, do you think that diminishes the song contest a little bit? Do you think that songs that sort of stay true to the culture that they come from perform better? What do you think would be that sort of the strategy?
Yeah.
Or how does that impact things?
It's such a great question because it's actually in the last few years, what I gravitate towards when I see Eurovision is songs that are heavily culture rise. Well, let's say like when you can feel a country's culture in the music, for me that's what Eurovision is about. Yeah. So even like with Kalush band like from Ukraine, even with the
first
song
one I thought of.
The song from Spain last year that didn't go that far, but it was kind of like Rosalia, like it was very, you could really feel like the heavy Spanish culture. And for me, that's what Eurovision should be. It's like a display of music from local countries. That's why I actually love when like a lot of the East European countries sing in their own language, because it's kind of like it's become a thing. But like all these different instruments, like all the songs from Greece and Cyprus are always like amazing women in sparkled dresses doing dance numbers, and it's such a bops. And then it's like, oh, but it's written by Swedes. And then it's like, yeah, but Sweden, their track record in Eurovision is the best ever. So I feel like if you can have a song come from Sweden and you can just like Cyprusize it or like do it the Greek way, just do it. So for me, it's, every time you can see some culture in the music, that's like what we have to do. But then again, I want to say that Denmark is such a small country. So it's hard for us because, to be honest, I really don't know what Danish music is. Like what is, of course, when we sing in Danish, it's Danish music, but I don't feel like we have such a specific sound, because then it becomes more like dansk top, which is kind of like Schlager, like German music. I would love for us to have like a song be super Danish and then send it, but that was kind of like what I tried to do with Aura and say like, okay, so we have a global European song, but then let's do like The Little Mermaid, or like let's make it Danish in like another way. I also really actually love about Zappa's performances that she's standing there. It's so like Nordic, clean, beautiful aesthetic. This like a beautiful girl in this very like white, clean, Nordic, Scandinavian look. Yeah. So that's also why I feel like that song could go far, because it's representing Denmark in a new and modern way, but it still says like Scandinavian style. And I
like going to a new Nordic meal. It's very, you recognize something about it as being very Danish, Scandinavian, minimalist. Scaled back.
Yeah, like clean design.
And it's just the essence of her performance really shines through in that lens. Yeah, that's interesting.
But also we have a Swedish songwriter on her song, which for me it's fine because the Swedes have shown that they are so good at writing bops. So for me, it's also like maybe we should. Otherwise, we could do like this year should be like okay, only Sweden writes songs for all the countries. So we can again back to like the songwriting process. So maybe if a country wins, what would happen if like only songwriters from that country wrote for all the countries and made like a big pile of songs that you could choose from? Because for me, we have to go back to like displaying the cultures more and like putting and like embracing people and inviting them into, again, share culture is what for me like music and love and Eurovision is. The recent years, especially this year, you can really tell because of social media that we have a lot of these gaggy songs, like these crazy songs, concept songs. I love it because it's fun, but it also is like a lot of the songs that I just heard like on the Spotify playlist, I was like, so from what country is this?
Right.
You know what I mean? So it's like
the Windows 95. Like
it's really cool,
great,
but it's kind of like
interesting.
I just want to say though that Finland and Holland, Netherlands have like these amazing music scenes that I feel like a lot of people don't know about. So those two countries are the ones that I'm actually most excited about every year because you never like the one with the cha-cha song.
Yes.
Like when I saw that last year,
Robbed.
I was like, that you can do a song in your own language that then goes to like, I think it went number 2 or something, right?
Yeah.
That is again what Eurovision is about. You can have a song where the melodies and the concept is so special and such a bop, but then you sing it in your own language. I love that because then again we're back to sharing cultures, sharing music on a global scene. So I just hope more people will do that. I just then again want to say that the song we sent in Danish a few years ago
was Fyr Flamme.
Fyr Flamme, was fine, but it was. I think people voted for it because it reminded them of like old Melodi Grand Prix. And I just feel like a Danish song.
It had such that 80s, 90s,
yeah.
which is also part of music. I think it also was on trend.
Yeah.
But
it's just like, maybe we should have like, I think we should just write better songs. That's the truth. At the end of the day, it's all about the songs.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, it is a song contest.
It is.
And at the end of the day, it's
and also like with Aura's song, it's really nice to see that they're still playing it in the radio. Like there's still like she is a bigger, well-known artist. We didn't want to win because of that. We want to win because we had the best song. Fair enough. Saba had a better song. I love that. But it's just to say, I still love that we've had so much like good vibes. Yeah. People being like, oh, it was so nice you were there. And I really think that Aura's performance is going to open up maybe next year for hopefully bigger artists to participate. Because I also feel like if all the artists were established, then it would be fine. I just feel like a lot of people I don't know what they're afraid of. Because if you win Eurovision and you go on this global scene, you could actually like really win in your career and have a bigger career.
It's been huge. And even, kind of going back to sort of the Danish mentality of, okay, maybe the Janteloven, maybe we don't want to. The number of people who told me, almost unprovoked, that when Muskin won.
Oh my God. I love them.
Oh, that's a Danish name. And the girl is half
She's
Danish. She's Danish. Yeah.
And everybody's
I think she's only half
it's
Danish.
It's our win.
But yeah. So there is that very like Danish inclination to
But also like if you see that show, when you see them perform that year, it was like,
and it's been massive for them.
It was like, this is such good taste. This is real music.
Yeah.
And either if you're like into rock-ish music, whatever, this is like, you could tell this is authentic. This is in their own language. This is real shit.
And they were loving it. Like
so good.
Yeah.
And if you look at their freaking success now, it's like
exactly
that for me is what Eurovision should be, that you can actually launch a career of a global band.
Absolutely. Yeah. I think that's one thing that we've heard before when we've talked about this is that Eurovision in Denmark almost tends to be like a capstone moment or something that these bigger names, because there are such big names in Denmark. Denmark produces some really great musicians for the size of the country, and we've got to be able to do something to get them out.
Yeah. We have to do something
and involved, and hopefully you can maybe look back at this point.
Let's cross our fingers that it will elevate in the next coming years, because we have to use this amazing platform also to just like showcase Danes and Danish music.
Well, I don't want to let you go without hearing a little bit more about what we can expect with
Yes.
Saba. I know you'll be going to Eurovision.
Yes.
I know you're going to be showing us content. You're going to be, once again, kind of behind the scenes and in the mix. So what can we expect? Can you give us anything
A little
to look
teaser.
for?
I feel like, for me, again, I've known Saba. She's been my friend for so many years. For me, it's always, when I work with an artist, it's always important for me, just like Eurovision, to kind of like dive into who they are, where they are in their life, and then showcasing that. And then, of course, I come with my crazy ideas and how to like take her, maybe sometimes like take her song, Sand, and then like that be, how can we get the song out? And then so we can do, maybe I have some crazy ideas, but they're not like rooted in who Saba is, but they're rooted in how do we get the song out. And then with like together with her, it's all about creating these moments on social, and some of them are going to work, some of them people are going to think what the F, but then some of them are going to be like, maybe for me the most important thing is for her to be seen as she is, who she is, and then the song come out and people connecting with it. So maybe we talked about maybe doing some covers of the song in other languages. Maybe she should do some covers of some of the other songs, again, to like respect the other contestants, and then maybe her just doing acoustic versions of some of the other songs this year to like put it into her world. Again, all about sharing the cultures, sharing the music, putting her stamp on it in a way. So even though she's representing Denmark with the song Sand, it's all about how can she as an artist like jump into this bubble and like be inspired and share again the music and the culture. She's already been to like Madrid, and I think it was Oslo. She was in Stockholm like playing these Eurovision pre-parties, and I just know she's such an amazing person, but also like her connecting with the other contestants is what I think is really important, because it's also about creating like a web of people throughout Europe, so that the music can be like shared. And if she maybe wants to go back to Madrid someday, work on some music, maybe now she knows some people and she has this Eurovision stamp in the back that she can use and utilize to like get further and again make a hopefully like more cohesive music in Europe. So it's kind of like a partnership, and this partnership is what like it's the most important for us, is to connect with the other countries, more fans, and like the fan base and the people throughout Europe that don't know her. That's what Eurovision is about to me, I think.
Yeah, that's so well said. And especially like we talked about at the top, it really was born, the Eurovision project was born from an effort to connect Europe and to bring a little bit of peace and unite everybody in something beautiful.
And this year especially, I think it's important to focus on Eurovision. Eurovision was created to gather Europe, to create like a safe space of music, love, and acceptance, a place where all Europeans are equal and they can meet in music, which is like the universal language of love. So it's like, let's just do that with a smile and spread the love.
Wow. And talking a little bit more about all the talent that's going to be there. Of course, we know Saba will be representing Denmark, but who else are you excited to see? Who do you think? We've mentioned Ali Alexander from the UK. Who are you looking for, and who do you think is going to be in that finale and maybe in the top five? I don't know. You don't have to get too specific.
It's really hard about the top five, because actually you never know. Again, from last year, you never know what people are going to vote for. I have this special love, of course, for my dad's from Gran Canaria, so I have a special love for Spain. And this year there's this amazing couple that wrote this song called Zorra, which means like vixen. So it's all about, it's this, I'm not going to say older woman because she's not old, but she's like embracing being not the youngest woman. And then they wrote a song about it, and it's kind of like a spoof song. So a lot of the Spanish people really don't like the song, actually, because the song that came in second was like a really beautiful man, and it was amazing. So there's a lot of controversy with her, but I'm really excited to see how it translates, because again, when you sing in your native language, it's like a hit or miss. But a lot of people, of course, speak Spanish, so it's gonna be cool to see if they're gonna embrace this like woman in her best age being super sexy, because it's kind of like you haven't seen that before.
Right.
But I feel like Eurovision is the place for it.
Yeah.
So I'm excited to see what she does, and then of course the Euro Papa song from
the Netherlands.
But,
yes.
when I heard it the first time, I was like, "What the f is this?"
Okay, that's what I thought too.
But then
Yeah.
I'm like, there's something about me that could be like the dark horse this year
Yeah.
because it's a song written for this specific show.
So true.
It even says in the beginning, like, everybody get up or something. It's such a song that's gonna have people on their feet, and it's exciting to see how it translates. Again, one thing is how you grab people like in the audience. Another thing is how people at home watching it are gonna take it. And of course, especially this year with what's going on in the world, it's gonna be exciting to see how people are voting. But most importantly for me, okay, I also love my Marcus and Martinez from Sweden, of course. Yeah. I've been a fan of them since I was like younger. I love them. But honestly, right now I'm just thinking about what is Loreen gonna do? Like, what is she gonna do? Is she gonna open the show? Is she gonna, like, I love her so much. And also just on a little note, last year, watching her work, like on stage, off stage, doing press, I was like, she is just the queen of Eurovision, and she will always be that. But just like when I saw her on like the turquoise carpet, there was like 200 people from like media. It was like media from countries, fans, and you know, everybody was like, "You have 1.5 hours to do this." And then I saw her being like, she didn't give a f. She was just like, she spoke with everybody that was there.
Wow.
Everybody. She didn't like skip one. Everybody. She connected with them on a human level. She was so real and just like took her time. I think she did it in 4 hours. And we were like, we had to run because we had a time schedule. She didn't care.
Wow.
She was there for the fans, for the people, for the music. So she is like a true icon. So even though she's not participating this year, I'm excited to see what she does.
A lot of people credit Loreen for ushering in this, what I think a lot of people call like the new era of Eurovision when she won in Baku. Do you think that's a fair assessment? Do you think that's accurate?
I feel like when people ask me, I feel like Euphoria and Tattoo as well, like those songs, what genre is that? That's Eurovision.
Yeah.
Like for me, Euphoria is the best song to ever come out of Eurovision. It should be like the jingle for Eurovision.
Yes,
she should be like a statue of Eurovision.
But you still hear it at every party, at every, you know, in my Danish class, my Danish lessons, you know, I was like the old one in the group, you know, but we had like grad students and like I went to a couple of their parties and it was like the, you know, early 20s and like, I'm like, this song is from when you were in grade school. I don't say diapers, but like grade school. And I'm like, it's a bop and it's timeless and they're just.
I really want to know what your favorite Eurovision song of all time is.
Oh, okay.
If you can't say Euphoria.
Okay. So I really started becoming a big fan in 2017, 2018.
Yeah.
Euphoria, I do have to say, Mike and I, my husband and I, walked into our wedding reception to Euphoria.
Oh my God, I got chills. That's so cute.
So, so I'll show you the video. We broke into one of those, like, you know, those posters they have in, like, you see in, like, American, like.
I love that.
We broke into one of those when the beat dropped. It was,
I love that.
It was really, so that's always a special memory.
But it's fun you say because you came to Denmark there, right?
Yeah.
So you kind of embraced Eurovision when you came to Europe.
100%. Yeah.
Makes sense.
It was something, there was something that we wanted a touch of, a touch of something, Euro, a touch of something. Even though it's from across the sound in Sweden, we wanted something European. I would say some of my favorite songs would be Fuego. We talked about Cyprus and these Fuego.
That song is
I mean,
and actually I have a little note on that because one of my friends, she's like one of the biggest songwriters here. You know, a song like that is, a lot of people go to a camp like to write the songs and then everybody like gets the same beat.
Oh.
And that's the beat of Fuego. And then a lot of different writers, because they can hear that's a hit. So then a lot of different writers will try to make a song on that beat, and then the best song on the beat will win. So I actually have heard other versions of that beat with like other top lines and other text. And that's like, again, for me, that's so exciting to be like behind, because you can hear that was going to be a hit anyways.
It's such a great song. I just remember it coming out, and I think it was a bit of a dark horse that year.
It really was.
Of like,
it could have won.
Wow, it could have won.
Yeah. But you always have like the winner, and then you have like the real winner, which is like, what are the gays going to listen to at the club?
Right, exactly.
That is the real winner.
Yeah.
But
I think even like, you know, as great of a song as Tattoo was last year by Loreen, which won, I think like Cha Cha Cha,
Yeah,
was
again.
such a great song. And then Snap, of course, as well.
Yeah.
Just, sort of these songs that
Yeah.
don't place as well, but break out.
I have a sweet spot for like a Helena, whatever, something with P, the Greek one with like My Number One.
Oh, yes.
I think it's 2003 or something.
Yes. Yeah.
Again, some of these bops that are like, they're so good.
It
But that song especially because it was a hooky song, and then also she has this amazing, I think it's a Greek instrument or something. Again, bringing in her culture. So you have like a hit song, and then you bring in your culture. That's for me is the recipe for a winner.
Yes, because it just sounds so Cypriotic. It sounds like Mediterranean. You don't know exactly what it is, but you just love that
Just
one.
love it.
I also have to say the same year I really liked. I think his name is Miklas Josef, the from Hungary. I think.
Sing it for me.
Lie to me, oh baby, come a little closer.
I think I know
lie
it.
to me.
But so many songs that are like when you listen to them, and it's like you can put on a Eurovision dance playlist, and everybody's just happy for many hours.
Yeah,
so many bobs.
that was such a great year. Yeah,
And then of course when Conchita Wurst won in Copenhagen, that was for me again what Eurovision should be.
Yes.
Because it's a cultural moment, but people don't understand that it's a cultural moment for Denmark as well.
Yes.
Because that performance, that win could only happen in Copenhagen for me.
Yeah.
So that's a proud moment.
Yeah, that's so true. And hopefully we'll find a way to bring another Eurovision back to Denmark.
Yeah.
So well said, and such a great note to end on. But Andres, thank you so much for
having me.
your time. Thank you for sharing all of your expertise. I can't wait to see more from you, from Eurovision with Sava. And
I've seen a little bit of what's going to happen at her performance, and I almost cried because for me this is such a culmination of what she stands for, and that's going to be so beautiful.
Great. Yeah. And where can people find you? What can we plug so that people can get more of you and more of this?
So my name is actually Copenhagen Kid. I'm born and raised in my amazing city. So I'm at Copenhagen Kid on TikTok, on Instagram, actually also on Spotify. Not that many songs out now, but I'm working on it because I also have this feeling that if nobody else is gonna do Eurovision, maybe I should just do a song next year. Who knows?
Yes. Oh, exciting!
But find me at Copenhagen Kid.
Yes. Okay. So we're gonna find you. We are gonna tune into Eurovision, and now I feel much more equipped to go to a Eurovision party and let everybody know what's up from everything you've shared. Thank you so much for today.
Thank you,
and thank you all for watching and listening. Hi.